If you'd like to access all my boxing content advert-free and enjoy the convenience of listening via a podcast app with the option to download in high-quality MP3, then consider joining me on Patreon. In addition to the aforementioned perks, you'll also gain access to exclusive weekly live stream Q&A sessions and hangouts, as well as uncensored, no-holds-barred uploads which are too blue for YouTube. This includes my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Boxing Extra. There's no contract, there's no commitment, it's only £2.50 a month and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of hardcore boxing enthusiasts by signing up with me here on Patreon today. Frank Warren has dismissed any possibility of Dillian Whyte getting a shot against Tyson Fury on December 5th. Fury has yet to announce his opponent for that date, and following the withdrawal of Povetkin from the Dillian Whyte rematch, which was set to take place at the back end of this month, November 21st, Dillian Whyte threw his name in the hat and said, well, I'll fight Fury on December 5th. Give me the straight title shot. Frank Warren has dismissed it. Now, this could be construed as Eddie Hearn calling Frank Warren's bluff. Because Frank Warren, several weeks ago, a couple months ago, whenever it was talking about putting his stable up against Eddie Hearn's stable. Well, since that time, Eddie Hearn has suggested making the Hrgovic-Dubois fight, which Frank Warren doesn't seem keen on. He's also suggested making Dillian Whyte versus Fury, which Frank Warren doesn't seem keen on. Well, if he wants this Matchroom versus Queensberry situation, there are opportunities right there. But instead, Frank Warren is suggesting that Hrgovic fights one of Eddie Hearn's other heavyweights, and that Dillian Whyte fights one of, Eddie Hearn's other heavyweights, whatever the case may be. He's very selective in terms of these cross-promotional battles, isn't he? Because at the end of the day, in case you hadn't noticed, Frank Warren is an opportunist. So when it comes to stuff like, oh yeah, let's put our stables up against each other, that's just bluster. That's just rhetoric. Because when it actually comes to making certain fights, he doesn't want certain of his fighters going up against particular Matchroom fighters. Dubois versus Hrgovic being a good example. Whyte versus Fury being another good example. Now, in the case of Whyte-Fury, or Fury-Whyte, excuse me, it's a little disappointing because Whyte looks vulnerable right now. He's just been knocked out badly. So for a voluntary defense, and he'd still be well within his rights to fight Whyte because he's very much still in the top 10. For a voluntary defense, Fury-Whyte is going to sell way more tickets and generate, going to sell way more pay-per-views and generate way more interest than Fury-Caballel or Fury-Takam. So why not do Fury-Whyte? Surely Tyson Fury is going to be a massive favorite. He would have been anyway, but particularly now that Whyte is coming off a knockout defeat. Why not have that fight? For the interest of business, if nothing else, it's going to do way better pay-per-view sales on BT. And, Eddie Hearn's willing to let Dillian Whyte go over there. Dillian Whyte's a free agent anyway, but he's happy for Dillian Whyte to go over there and fight on BT. I'm sure as long as Eddie Hearn gets his cut and fight Tyson Fury. But Frank Warren is dismissing it. Curious, isn't it? I think it is a case of Eddie Hearn calling Frank Warren's bluff with the, prospect of Hrgovic, Dubois, and also the prospect of Dillian Whyte versus Tyson Fury. So, look, Dillian Whyte isn't the mandatory anymore. So if Dillian Whyte was mandatory, then maybe there'd be more incentive for Tyson Fury to fight Dillian Whyte next, let's say on December 5th. With the Wilder trilogy fight falling out, if Dillian Whyte was still mandatory right now, maybe they'd consider it. They think, okay, we can get Dillian Whyte out of the way, and then we've got a clear path for the next 18 months. But even though that isn't the case, it's still a money fight. And it's still a fight which the vast majority of us surely believe that Tyson Fury would win fairly comfortably against Dillian Whyte, especially coming off the knockout defeat. So, I don't know, it's a little disappointing that they're not at least considering fighting Dillian Whyte on December 5th. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm out.